Let me unmute first. Hello guys. Welcome back to the Football Corner. Welcome back to another live stream, another show, another video. So let's get into this, man, because a lot has happened today. The UCL draw, we came out, got our group, we know who we're going to be playing. And today we're going to be discussing it on this video in detail, discussing the other groups as well, and also discussing possible winners, possible teams, surprising teams, So I'm going to be discussing a lot in this live stream. So firstly, I want to start off by saying, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit that like button. Like buttons are all appreciated. And if you're watching on a replay, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment to let us know what your thoughts are on the teams that we are coming up against in the channel. So let's get into this. And let me bring up my guest, the one and only Rashid. Rashid, how you doing, my broski?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. After the news today, after watching that draw, I'm doing better than I was before the draw. I was nervous, man, nervous.
What were you thinking? You're thinking that we are going to get Bayern, was it?
Yeah, that's literally when I was watching it. I was like, please don't show A. When they showed Arsenal, I was like, please don't show A. Please don't show A. Please don't show A. They didn't show A. They showed B. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So we bust case for a hot second there, but you don't. To be honest, I was like that, but at the same time, like I don't mind going up against the big teams because I want to test the team as well because I want to see what they do. I know it's our first year back and that, but I would like the test on the team in it.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think you're right. Say it again.
What were your thoughts on the draw?
To be honest, I tried not to focus too much on it, because obviously, look, it is what it is. Whatever the situation is, that's it. We just have to deal with it. But I think looking at the draw, and also when we look at each of the teams that we're in the same group with, it could have been a lot worse for Arsenal. And I think really, looking at Arsenal in Europe, just generally, and particularly the Champions League, we've been out for a long time. I think it has to be the start of a new era and a new type of approach and a higher level of seriousness with regards to this competition. And I said that Arsenal must get out of this group. I don't think there's any excuses. If we don't get out, I'll just say it straight right now. If we don't get out of this group, sorry, that's a massive failure for the season. As far as I'm concerned, massive. And we can go through each of the teams. I think we've had some good games against PSV Eindhoven in the last few years. Sevilla are always, I think, Sevilla got some good pedigree when it comes to European football, just in general. Lons are like a fairy tale story because about three years ago they were in League Two, now they're in the Champions League.
Exactly.
So there's a lot there, and Arsenal, I think, at times historically, I think when it comes to playing in Europe, they haven't been ruthless in two aspects at least. One, in terms of personnel that's been put in the starting 11, we've made mistakes with regards to personnel there, but then also just in gameplay, we just haven't been ruthless enough. And I found ourselves getting caught with last minute equalizers, which end up knocking us out, or last minute winners from opposition teams. We just haven't boxed clever enough when it comes to European football. So for me, going back to your question, it really didn't matter so much who we faced. It's more about how are we approaching the Champions League? How are we approaching it on a mentality level? Are we like a different beast now when it comes to it, or is it going to be more the same? That's my question, really.
I think it's interesting to say that because going into the Champions League now, like you said, there's more this time. There's no, oh, it's the Europa League, so maybe they're not taking it too serious. Last year we were focusing on the league, obviously, which I wasn't in agreement anyway. Of I want to go hard in every competition, so I want to win every competition. But we were in the title race trying to fight for the league, so I could kind of understand it in a way. But then, you know, so I feel like going into this game and going into this competition now and going into the Champions League, it's massive, and there's no way you can go into this competition now with a second string team. No way. Not even if you're coming up against Lens or or you think you can just get by them. Like, no, I don't want to see it. I want to see you going with your first team in every single game of the Champions League, because they need to soak up as much of that Champions League football as they can to become used to it as a team. You know what I mean? So the team that you go with in the Champions League, you've got that team. That's the Champions League team. Then you add players in there that have experience and stuff like that. I feel like that's how we need to look at going into the Champions League for me. But yeah, that's just my outlook on us being into the competition after 7 years, man.
I would agree with you. You know what I would do? What I would maybe add is this. You know, looking
Mm,
back how we used, just when we used to be in the Champions League, I'll be honest with you, for the for the years that we've been out of the Champions League, I've not really focused on it as much. Obviously, when it comes to the semi-finals or finals, there were British teams in it. I'm definitely watching. But what I always used to remember was the form of the
mm,
match before a Champions League um, game and then straight afterwards as well. Those were really
mm,
important. And usually the form leading up to a game was very important, that you got a win, that you got a good performance, you hit the momentum, because what? Their manager is in the stands watching us, or they've got their scouts watching us. They're taking notes and they want to see how we do. And we want to make sure that we're giving them sleepless nights, make sure that I think that, yeah, we're going to be a tough opposition. Not like, oh, we had a ropey performance. You know what? These guys are there for the taking. We don't want to see any of that, especially in the group stages. And like, you're
mm,
saying you don't want us to be sleeping on any of the teams. We can't afford to. If you look at the form of each one of those teams in our group, it's very, very different from like last season for some of them. Like Sevilla, you wouldn't believe Sevilla are 0 for 3. They haven't
mm,
recorded a single win. They're bottom of the league in
mm,
domestically, but
mm,
they've got European football pedigree. They have
mm.
definitely compared to us. So you can't be sleeping on any of the competition.
Yeah,
Um,
and with Sevilla as well, I feel like they're a team that they just understand European football. Like, maybe the league is a bit more, maybe the league is a bit more not their thing. But when it comes to Champions League and well, not necessarily Champions League, because even in the Champions League they haven't had the best of luck in previous times. But when it comes to Europa League and just European nights in general, I feel like they really get it. They really understand what it takes to be in these competitions. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they're they're definitely not going to be, for me personally anyway. I personally think they're not going to be an easy team to go up against. I feel like they're going to give us good games. I know they've lost players, but for me, I'm still wary in it, because, like, although normally you think, oh yeah, you just got a great group, really easy. The players ain't they ain't all that, and yeah, okay, maybe they ain't, but still, these teams are the ones that can sometimes hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, even you imagine if we go
100.
to imagine if we go to Lens away, and
Mm-hmm.
then we put out a second string team and they get blitzed. Or imagine if it's a close game and then they get done 2-1 or something, like, you know what I mean?
We should,
I need
yeah,
all the points I can get.
yeah, we should only be doing that if game week 5 or 6 we're already
Mm,
qualified and we put in a weaker squad, because obviously we've got a big game coming up that weekend. That's the only reason why we should be doing that. But no matter who starts for Arsenal, they've got to make sure that they are obviously concentrated from minute one. Yeah, we know all about that. Concentrating from minute one, and they really got to realise that these 6 games in the group stages are hugely crucial, and they've got to take them with all seriousness. There can't be no messing about. I mean, Meskin is saying that it's a good draw. Yeah, definitely. We're not traveling to Ukraine or Turkey for sure. But I think the Philips Stadion in Eindhoven, PSV, that's going to be hostile. I don't know about Lens and Sevilla as well. The same thing. It might not be as traveling as far as we've done in the Europa, but I think those are going to be 3 difficult away matches.
PSV, I think we're kind of okay with the PSV one because we've been there before. You know, last season we had them in the Europa League, so we went away, so they know what to expect when you're going away to PSV. So I think Lens is going to be a bit hostile because, listen, it's France, European night. You know what I mean? Sevilla, Spain is always not a nice place to go to. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, but I can completely agree that it's much better than traveling to Ukraine or Turkey or Azerbaijan or one of these countries because
all due respect to those countries, but we're liking the shorter haul flights, man. So yeah, that's this, and also the possibility of playing on a Tuesday as well. Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's very important.
Thursday night football. Yeah. I
know
a lot of the Champions League managers
Tuesdays.
Exactly. I know a lot of the Champions League managers complain about the Premier League fixture following or leading up to a Champions League group stage match. Well, obviously that's not UEFA's problem, but it is a lot better for us to be playing on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and then on a Saturday or even a Sunday compared to Thursday, Sunday. So this is a situation I'm really happy for us to be back at after all these years.
No, I completely agree, man. But yeah, so getting obviously into the groups, let's just have a quick overlook on the groups. I'll read them out. So obviously we've gone over Arsenal, Sevilla, PSV, and Lens in our group. So we'll just go to the first actual group, Group A, which was Bayern Munich, Manchester United, FC Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. Now, I don't know if you want to start off or should I start off, because that group is interesting. And you know what? Let me quickly start off. Let me just be completely real, because I'm not even gonna like sit here and go crazy, but I'm not even lying. I'm being realistic. I think that's going to be difficult for Man United. Galatasaray, as much as we want to say that, Bayern, yeah, we know that Bayern's going to be a difficult game, but Galatasaray away is not easy. It's not easy to go to Galatasaray away and get a win and leave there with a win as well. It's well known, man, and they've got heritage in this, but heritage in regards to they've been here before, they've played it. You know what I mean? So the Galatasaray are not an easy place to go, and with some of the players they've got, I mean, listen, they got Wilfried Zaha, and let's face it, like he's definitely going to be a problem in the Champions League for Man United.
He's going to be up for it. Yeah, he's going to be up for it against one of his former clubs. You know,
it's his first team, isn't it?
He didn't have the. Say it again.
It's his first time. It's his first time in the Champions League, isn't it? Or was he in there for Man United?
Did he not play under Fergie in the Champions League? I don't know.
I might have to double check it.
Yeah, I mean, if someone in the chat can maybe let us know, that'd be good.
Yeah, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether he actually played for them, because I think this might be his first official time playing in the Champions League. But
he's a player that should have more. He's a player that should have a lot more European games under his belt. So I'm happy for him himself. I think it's a great acquisition by Galatasaray getting Zaha, because I know he was being looked at. I think he had offers definitely in England. I think he had offers from the Saudi Pro League. So there would have been a significant amount of money that he would have turned down. So the project at Galatasaray must have something there that he thinks fits him right now at his stage of his career. And I think he'll be really looking to put on a show at home against Man United. I think that's going to be a really good game to look forward to. But the one that stands out is definitely the matches against Bayern Munich and Manchester United. I think those are going to be really, really interesting. So we've got Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag was Pep's assistant at Bayern, wasn't he? So Ten Hag's going to be returning to a former club. Harry Kane's coming back to England. So he's going to be wanting to carry on his good form already in the Bundesliga. And, obviously he's back playing. Maybe I thought I don't know, at some point in the summer, he thought maybe he was going to be playing European football if he stayed at Spurs. But obviously he's escaped that lot. And now he's back at the top table of European football. So, yeah, I do think Manchester United, if they sort out their home form, get a bit tighter, because obviously they've shown that they're a bit leaky in defence. If Man United can get maximum points at home, I think, they could probably beat Copenhagen away. It might be enough for them to get a draw at Galatasaray and even at Bayern, and that should be it. But
I think Copenhagen are unlucky. I think Copenhagen are unlucky in that group because they're surrounded by all three of those teams in it. So
yeah, I mean you've got
unlucky in that group.
They've got two multiple Champions League winners in the group. So I mean the pedigree's there. I think FC Copenhagen, maybe they're going to be looking at third to try and get into Europa, but I can't see them getting out the group personally.
Yeah, if I'm going, because obviously we'll just get your view on this as well, but I'm just gonna see how, or I'll say how the groups are gonna. I think they're gonna finish anyway. I think it's gonna be Bayern and Galatasaray. I'll be real. I don't think Man United at the moment. I don't feel like they have enough to push to that next stage after the group stages, just because. Listen, Galatasaray, I've seen their team, so they've got Cardi, they've got what's his name? Mertens, I think they have over there. No, sorry, Insigne they have there now. Okay. So obviously Zaha. So they've got some attacking threats there. So I don't feel like it's going to be an easy run for Man United and Bayern Munich, where they're just going to beat the other teams and then it's going to be first, second. I feel like that could be a very interesting group. I don't know what what do you think it's going to finish?
I can see your point. So really, what you're saying in another way maybe is how Bayern and Manchester fare against Galatasaray at home might be pivotal with regards to whether they continue in the Champions League format. Yeah, I can see that. Look, we know ourselves historically against Galatasaray. It's not easy. It's not an easy fixture. So, what is it that they say? Is it them that they say "Welcome to Hell"? That's like their motto at Galatasaray. I mean, so enough said there. It's not going to be easy for anyone getting to Galatasaray, and I think also for Turkish football, obviously they are one of the top three clubs in Turkish football. They're going to want to make sure that they represent their country well, and they're going to be, they're going to make sure that they're going to any opposition is going to find it tough. If you're going to get the 3 points against them, it's going to be it's not going to be easy to get them from Galatasaray. So I can see what you're saying. So you think Galatasaray will get in, Bayern first, and then Galatasaray will get second? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll be close as well. I think it'll be close, but I don't see Man United beating them home all the way. To be honest, maybe home it might be a closer game for them, but away I definitely don't see Man United coming out of that one alive. To be honest. And I did actually just search up their motto, and it's actually "Welcome to Hell," and this is the
There
end
it
of the
is.
road. So
They're
they
making
just
predictions. They're making
yeah,
predictions
because
for
listen,
someone's European
Galatasaray is
campaign.
listen, uh, you know, there's history there, man. There's history, so it's
Mm,
crazy, man. It's crazy, but yeah, moving on from that group because there are some more interesting groups which I do want to get into. Obviously, we've spoken about our group. We'll go to this group C, which is Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga, and Union Berlin, which is an
yeah.
interesting one because they just made it into the. I think is that the first time they've ever been in the Champions League before Union Berlin?
Union Berlin. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting team to see because they did
Hmm.
very well in the Bundesliga last year.
Correct.
Uh,
I think
they had a
for a lot
great
of people, Union Berlin's campaigned. Um, a lot of people are very like interested in how Union Berlin will do. So yeah, I think for a lot of people in the Bundesliga, like Union Berlin became a lot of people's second team. Um,
Hmm,
but I think I don't know what your prediction is, but I just see Napoli and Madrid, to be honest, out of those two, out of those four. I think
yeah.
Madrid and Napoli making it. Um, yeah, I can't see anyone else out of those two.
I'm pretty
We're
much the
talking,
same, man. I can't even lie to you.
yeah,
It has to be Real Madrid and Napoli. I think Union Berlin will make it to into the Europa League in third place,
okay,
but Napoli and Real Madrid, listen, they're two giants. They got far in the Champions League last year, and they've
yeah.
only improved. And to be honest, Real Madrid, they're gonna go far this year. The way Bellingham's playing at the moment, that kid is
Oh
special.
man,
So
but I put it
I
out there already. I think he's generational. I think he's generational, and we don't know
yeah,
even what his younger brother's like. But it looks like he's already ripping up trees at Sunderland, right?
mm,
So
yeah,
he's not going to be there for too long before he moves up
yeah,
to a top league. That's for
some
sure.
top league, yeah.
But I'm watching his career, Jude Bellingham's career, like closely. He's a special talent, man. He's got everything in his position, really, and
Mm,
he's so young. He's just going to get better and better.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
we
think
did.
I think I
I'd love to see how he does.
I think I saw a training video the other day. I don't know if you've seen it, or where he does like a no look outside of the foot pass over the midfielders in a little. It's like a little five versus five game that they're
Man,
doing in training. He does like a no look. I think it's a no look outside of the foot. Just
wow.
cross and it goes over and it literally goes into the goal. And the guy didn't
Oof,
even really need to touch it that much. So it just seeing him right now, I think
it's next level.
this is going to be one of the best midfielders we see in the next 10, 15 years. I
Yeah,
think he's going to run stuff in that midfield area just from what I can see so far with the goals that he's bringing in, the control that he brings in midfield. He can do it all. Like he
I
can
agree
he
with
can
you.
get down and dirty, help with the defensive work, as well as he can go forward and help with a goal, chip in with an assist. You know what I mean?
And
So
I think he had there's a nice stat for him. I think because he scored in the first two games in La Liga for Real Madrid,
mm,
and I think the
yeah.
last person to do that was Ronaldo. So he's following
Some
some top
very
level
big,
footsteps.
yeah,
So
some very
yeah,
impressive
man.
footsteps right there, man. He's
No,
following,
but he
but
doesn't look phased at all. He doesn't look
yeah,
phased at all, which is like
that's
amazing. And you know what? That really speaks to for me. That speaks to his parents a lot. Looks like they've kept the Bellingham boys real grounded, humble, but really hardworking. So congrats to him and just more success to his career. Really,
mm. That's what you want, man. That's what you want is to have a player that just head down. He's just perfecting his craft, and at the same time, he'll do anything he needs to do for the team in order to help them. Whether he needs to
one
pass the
hundred.
ball, whether he needs to go himself and he has a better chance and he converts it, or whether he needs to make that last ditch tackle. He's that type of player, and I feel like it's a really big miss for Liverpool that they weren't able to get him. But listen, when anybody knows, no matter how big you are as a club, if Real Madrid or Barcelona come calling,
Yeah, I mean, come on. You got to think about
that's
your career.
that's the fear that I have for Saka one day. If Real Madrid or
Oh
or,
God.
or, or something come calling, some of these players like they go because
Yeah, I
it's a
think I'll
team
look
of
at it
everyone.
two ways though. I think you're right, Sad. You're right, Sad. It's a definite worry because I think Saka definitely has that ceiling. But I think you got to look at it two ways, or maybe even more than two ways. Individually as a career, Bellingham has Real Madrid at this early stage of his career wanting him. You've got to go for it. You just got to
Mm,
go. You got to sign. There's no way that you miss out on that because the pull that Madrid has, if it's not Bellingham 1.0, there'll be Bellingham 2.0 that they'll find later on, and you've lost your chance. You've missed out. Yeah, and
exactly.
I'm sure that was the type of conversations that he had with his team, with his family before he made the decision to go. And then
Mm,
really the club who's selling, it's going to be a huge fee. They're going to be thinking, well, we might not get this opportunity again. So from the selling point of view, they're going to be like, yeah, they might be trying to push him out the door. And then
yeah,
from the buying team, Real Madrid, I mean, that's their swagger. They know, look, we're Real Madrid. We've come
exactly.
calling. You need to answer the call, really. And they've got the heritage both domestically and in Europe to be able to
Mm.
to flex like that. So really, I mean, Real Madrid, we all know there's a few clubs in the world, and Real Madrid's probably at the top where they come knocking. You just gotta answer the call, really.
Mm. Yeah, 100%, 100%, and I think that we're as teams, just the last point before we move on, we're lucky as teams that Barcelona right now are in financial crisis, because if we weren't, then it would literally be Real Madrid and Barcelona at the top. Any player that they want, they get the pick of it
Yeah,
because
true, true,
they
true.
they just have that pull. They're
Hmm.
just they're the clubs that define the word pull. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But let's move on to Group D, which is a very interesting group. I don't know who is gonna go through on this one because it can go either way. You got Benfica,
Hmm.
Inter Milan, Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. I don't know who's gonna go through in that
Same
group,
here.
who's gonna go out. It's a very
No idea.
sticky group, man.
I'd just be guessing, bro. I would just be guessing. Um, I don't know. I do like my Italian teams. I gotta say, yeah,
Mm.
and yeah, maybe Inter. Um,
Because the thing is, I'm
yeah, I
Benfica's
always when I
definitely
look at
there.
yeah, no, they are. I mean, but yeah, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with
Mm.
that. I mean, that might be a good group to look at in terms of just watching other fixtures because
Mm.
that's unpredictable. So you might end up getting a campaign from one of the teams there that really kind of shocks European football to some extent
Mm.
because you don't really know which one's really going to get out of the four, and then it is pretty much how the knockout stages are formed. You never know how far they can go. So
Mm.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a bit of a that's a bit. If I was to literally throw a team, I'd say exactly what you said. Like I'm guessing right
Hmm.
now, uh, I might just say Benfica and Inter will go through, just because
Fair enough.
big names, but still Salzburg and Real Sociedad not teams to be played with. Like I mean they still can put a dagger in if they need to. Man, Salzburg surprises teams every year, so I mean
Yeah.
there's definitely there's teams that
Hmm.
surprise you. You know what I mean? But yeah,
And I think,
that's an interesting group, man. That's an interesting group. But moving on to the next
yeah, and
one,
I think I,
which is
I think with
oh yeah, go on, bro.
mhm.
No, no,
No,
go on,
I'm just
bro.
saying that with any sort of Spanish team, I think there's
Mm,
always that level of technical ability that you need to look out for. So there's
mm,
always that to be looking at when you're looking at a Spanish team. So Yeah,
Mm.
and sometimes it is that when games are very cagey, it is the technically superior team that ends up making um getting the win. So you might have some edgy matches.
You know what, Rashid? I'm also interested. You know, I'm interested to see how they implement Tierney to the team because he's just gone there, isn't he? So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how they get him into the team as well. That's going to be very interesting to see. He's definitely going to get some Champions League minutes. I'm
no,
sure
good
of
for
it.
him. Good for him. I mean, he's at a good age. He needs to be playing football.
Mm,
Scotland on an international level are starting to come up again, and Tierney wants to make sure that he's not forgotten by
mm,
the national team coach. So he needs the minutes. I hope he's a starter for them. I hope he's obviously injury free as well. And
mm,
on a personal level, I hope that's not the last time that he's worn an Arsenal shirt. But I have a
mm.
feeling that probably is going to be it.
I, I think it is, man.
It's just the profile. He seems to be the profile that Arteta doesn't want.
Mm. He just, yeah,
Sadly.
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And listen, Tierney was one of my favorite players, man.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Same here.
it's just it's sad to see him go, but you know, hopefully he reignites his career at Real Sociedad,
Yeah,
man. He shows us what we're missing, and then we can hopefully bring him
yeah,
back. But I don't
absolutely.
think it will happen. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next group, which is Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and Celtic. That one is another. It's another interesting group, man, because you literally don't know
Man,
where it could go. Obviously, Atletico Madrid, they look. I think they beat a team 7-1, didn't they?
I
Um,
you know what?
League
Yeah, I
or
think I could
7-0.
should have as like to get to
So what was that?
the group stages. Yeah,
The groups was it the group stages? Did you say?
you know what? I just have a sneaky feeling that Celtic. I have a sneaky feeling that Celtic like kept surprising the results. Yeah, that's was the group stage that Atletico Madrid 7-0. Was it in the league?
I think it was. I'm just gonna
Ooh,
double check because
we
I
got
think
that
that
lag.
they. Yeah. There was a bit of lag there. Let me just Atletico Madrid because I'm sure they beat Team 7-0. No, it's Getafe. No, it was Rayo Vallecano. I think that's how you say it, or Vallecano. But yeah, they beat them 7-0, man. So listen,
Oh, okay, right.
I feel like
Okay.
I feel like Atletico Madrid definitely going to be up there. Lazio will be up there. Um, Feyenoord obviously. Um, I think there isn't their manager. What's his name? Van Nistelrooy, isn't it? Ruud Van Nistelrooy, I think, is their manager. So that's interesting to see him managing
Yeah,
the team.
he's did a really good job there. Um, uh, Manager for Feyenoord. We got Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think we got Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's PSV Eindhoven manager.
Oh, it's PSV. Yeah,
So we
yeah,
got Ruud van Nistelrooy.
okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we got
I
Ruud,
thought
we
I
got
thought
Ruud,
I thought it was
Ruud van
Feyenoord.
Nistelrooy again.
So who's Feyenoord? I thought it was Feyenoord. I'm getting confused with my managers in the Eredivisie, man. But yeah, I think if we're really looking at, I think maybe Lazio and Atletico Madrid will go through in that one. If I'm to
Yeah, I
pick
agree
two
with that one.
teams.
I think I think Celtic might make it
Mm,
third. And
really?
so maybe the European Europa League. I have a feeling, Celtic, they've got actual pedigree. They've won Champions League a couple of times in the '60s, yeah. But
Mm,
also, I think sometimes at Celtic Park, European nights are just really special, and
mm,
they can
yeah.
they can turn a result. And also, I think Brendan Rodgers, he's got something to prove when it comes to obviously himself just as a manager, but he's got an opportunity. for European football at the highest table again. So I think he's going to want to really make sure that he proves himself with Celtic. I can
Yeah,
see Celtic getting third in that group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. I think they're due to have a decent spell.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in the Europa League, and they could get far in that competition as well. So
Yeah, they could.
they also have a lot. I've seen recently that Celtic really they bring in a lot of young gems, man, that they have in their team, and some of them are great players, some of them are still up and coming and trying to learn the way, and it's a good way to get into English football as well, because I feel like the
Correct. Yeah.
physicality is still there in that league as well. There's a certain bit of that physicality that you'd find in the Premier League. So it's like a kind of warm up into the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? With
Oh,
the pace of
100.
the game and stuff like that. So yeah,
100%.
I think they're gonna have a decent season this year, man. And I think
Mm-hmm.
they could possibly challenge and win for the league, win with the league, because I mean mostly it's just them and Rangers, isn't it? That
Yeah,
challenge for the
man.
league. Each other.
Man,
But
it'd be good if for Scottish football it was a bit more competitive, but can't see that
yeah.
happening. Yeah.
So next group, which this is gonna cause a whole discussion, man. A whole
Yeah.
discussion.
This I'm really
Group
looking forward
group
to.
group F, yeah, is juicy because you have PSG, Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle United. This I got a clanger to drop, but I'm gonna let you go first and just explain your thoughts on the group and who you think is gonna
Okay.
finish
So I,
second.
I'm 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 happy for Newcastle that they're back in European football Champions League. I think I'm Bobby Robson when I see Newcastle back in the Champions League. So it's like it's been a long time, and
Mm.
I do think if I go through each team, I'm just going to say what I think. I think Paris Saint-Germain still, when it comes to European football, they are very much hit and miss. They have the potential to get out of the group, but wouldn't surprise me if they don't. Now,
Mm.
in terms of Newcastle, I can't see them getting out of the group. I just think that when you look at the squad and the the whole setup manager as well, I think there's just not enough experience to be able to handle the Premier League as well as Champions League football. Potentially, they could get third, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're going to get fourth. I think Newcastle will end up bottom of the table in their group.
Really?
Now, I have a feeling that Paris Saint-Germain are probably going to shoot themselves in the foot like they do many times. There's a lot of change of personnel.
Mm.
I know it's good that they've kept Mbappe, but I think their project of
Neymar's gone.
Galacticos 2.0, their name was gone. Their project of Galacticos 2.0, that's done now. So it's been reported many times that they're trying to now look for exciting young French players, and that to be the core of their team. Now, that being the case, if they're in a stage of transition, you can't necessarily expect much from Paris Saint-Germain. I would say in European competition, I don't feel they've done very well, really, over the last few years. Not when you look at the outlay that they've spent in terms of recruiting, like Messi, for example. And also keeping Mbappe as well, with his contract being staggering amounts of money.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
going to say Borussia Dortmund and AC Milan. I'm going to say
Mm.
those two are going to get through. I
You
think
know,
Paris Saint-Germain will get third. I
I
still think that they are such a hit and miss club.
I listen. I'm gonna agree with you on one thing, which is I think that either Dortmund or AC Milan might top the group.
Mm-hmm.
I think Newcastle are gonna go through.
Oh, really?
I'll be real.
Okay.
But Rashid,
Let's keep an eye on this then.
explain to you. Let me explain
Yeah,
to you
yeah.
my thought process. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I feel like going to St James's Park. A lot of teams are gonna have difficulties with their fans being. Listen, we know as well as anyone that when you're at St James's Park and your fans are literally in the gods, and they're just so far high, so far up. You can barely hear the away fans. So they do that on purpose. And I feel like on a European night, it's gonna be even more nuts. Like it's gonna be crazy to watch a European game at St James's Park again. Like it's it's definitely gonna be a rocking crowd. You know what I mean? So I feel like the 12th man is gonna be their best mate this season because of how they play as well. They play good, quick football. They're also the word that they're using now, PMP. Yeah, they've got
Mm,
that in the midfield, man.
yeah.
They've got that in the midfield. I think their midfield is so physical that
Hmm.
it's going to trouble a lot of teams that they
Mm.
come up against. I know they played against um, Liverpool and they lost 2-1 after like dominating the game.
Yeah, they
But
shouldn't have lost that game.
yeah, I feel like that's just the inexperienced side of them coming out, and it may
Hmm.
come out in this Champions League. But I just have a weird feeling that Newcastle are going to make it through that group and they're going to go into the next round or the round
Okay.
of 16. And I genuinely feel like they will go. If I was to go with PSG, I think they might have a miss this season, man. Just because of the stuff
Yeah.
that you mentioned, the transition period, they've completely changed their whole stance on how they deal with transfers now and stuff like that. So they're 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 going to be going for a transitional period, and once they once Mbappe goes next summer, which I think he is going to go now to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So once he leaves, they're going to be on a completely new rebuild again. They're gonna have to
Hmm.
rebuild, get star man, and it's going to be a new PSG that we're going to see. And you know, hopefully they come back and then they're fighting again because I used to enjoy the football that I saw from
Hmm.
PSG at times, but then at times they can do some really
Yeah.
have some bozo moments, as you like to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. They did. They did. They did. They did. I feel I'd agree with you on the PSG one. It'll be interesting what happens to PSG next summer. Um,
Mm.
Mbappe leaving on a free to Real Madrid, linking up with Bellingham. Ooh, that
Oof.
is gonna be that's
Can you
potentially
guys?
a squad for the next 5 years that maybe no one can touch.
Yeah,
Potentially.
yeah. I
Um,
think they give Man City a run for their money.
I think you'd
Genuinely.
like to see that. You'd like to see the clubs that have the potential to recruit really, really well, top level,
Mm.
actually being able to compete with each other. Go toe to toe. You want to see that. You do when you're like totally being unbiased. You want to see when if you love football, you just want to see the best against the best. So when you're
Yeah,
saying that, Man
exactly.
City versus Real Madrid in a final, yeah, that's
Mm.
that's Hollywood A-lister type stuff.
Yeah,
You
hundred
know.
percent. I can completely agree with that, man. I can completely agree with that. And you know what? Yeah, I just want to move on to the next group. Yeah, and this
Hmm.
group's if it's not as obvious as it is on the actual group stage menu, that's exactly how it's probably going to be. To be honest, or I'd switch out
Yeah.
because on my group it's got Man City, RB Leipzig, Red
Hmm.
Star Belgrade, and
Hmm.
young boys. I feel like switch Red Star Belgrade and Young Boys. I think
Hmm.
they'll finish third, and that's
Hmm.
that's the finish. I I, I genuinely don't see Man City or RB Leipzig getting beaten
Yeah, same
in
here. Same here. I
by
mean,
either of the teams.
that's cruise control. That's cruise control. That group for Man
Mm,
City.
yeah,
Really,
and RB
one
Leipzig.
tough match, maybe one tough match away to RB
Mm,
Leipzig. But
mm,
you know, Haaland's going to be happy to go back to Germany, bang some more goals in. Um,
mm.
City winning that group easily, easily. I say that's probably the most straightforward one. Yeah, they, they can't be more
Yeah,
happy. They can't be happier. They can't be happier. From what they could have got,
yeah,
this is a really good draw for them.
yeah, 100%. That's the draw that they would have dreamed of. And
Hmm.
yeah, they got it. And literally, we have the last group, which is Barcelona, Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Antwerp, which I believe it's a Serbian team. I think who are in here now. But yeah, listen, Barcelona. I wanted to have Barcelona in our
Yeah,
could we get them? Could we get Barcelona? I think we could, innit? Because they're in pot one.
they're pot one.
I
Yeah.
did want to. Yeah, so I did want to get Barcelona in our group just because I would
Hmm.
love to come up against them again. Obviously, we saw what happened in preseason friendly, but I feel like our team can compete with theirs. Just even with their first team, I feel like we've got a team that can compete with them. I'll be honest with you. I
I
don't
would
know what.
agree with you. I've seen another. I've seen on other channels. I think it was the Football Terrace where
Hmm,
I think Terry was saying that I think he feels there's very few teams in the Champions League that could play better than Arsenal. But obviously, us that we would have to be putting out those performances, obviously, and putting the personnel in the right positions. So there are some prerequisites to that statement. But I think at the moment, in terms of trajectory, we would definitely give Barcelona a good game. Forget friendlies
hmm,
or not, where it matters, I think we'd give Barcelona a good game. But in terms of their group, I think it's almost like how it states there. I think Barcelona, Porto, maybe Shakhtar Donetsk might be able to 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 pick Porto to second, but
hmm,
Barcelona wins that group. I think, despite their problems in signing players over
hmm,
the summer, Barcelona still a clear of of that group. So I see them
hmm,
getting through. Um, they're still through a transition situation. I think Barcelona I do worry for in the long term because um, this is the second or third summer now where financially they're having it really, really tough. And the way that they've spent
really
some
tough.
of their money, the way they've spent some of their money in the years before then, the sort of Coutinho years, it's really starting to hit them now.
Hmm,
And so yeah, I think really Barcelona are probably their own worst enemies when it comes to like future aspirations. But they won La
hmm.
Liga last season,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you know they're still of a certain level. So you can't be sleeping on Barcelona even if they're not where they want to be financially right now. And like you were
Yeah.
saying earlier, imagine when they are, when they get out of all of the situation and they're in a much better, more fruitful financial position, they'll be a force again in Europe. You know.
Mm. No, 100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree. And for me, I think that group will finish because I think Porto's a decent team to watch out for.
Yeah.
I think they've always been okay in the Champions League,
Hmm.
and in Europa League. But Shakhtar Donetsk, they're always here. They're always in the
Yeah, they
Champions
are.
League.
Very
So
true.
they're pretty much just a staple team in there. I think they must literally just come top in their league every time to
Yeah.
in
So
order to
not really
get
that
goal.
competitive. They're
Yeah.
not that competitive. I think they do have a good scouting group. They do source their players from quite far out. I think they've historically had quite a lot of good South American players play for them. So they've got some good
Mm,
technical players. But I think because their league is not competitive, and this is something similar to the Paris Saint-Germain situation, when a league, when a
mm,
domestic league is not that competitive, I think it has a knock-on effect in the European stages. There's two things: competitiveness and then the financial clout. So for the Premier League, we've got the financial clout. We're the most popular league in the world. We've got
mm,
all eyes watching us, and then at the same time, we do have a competitive league, even if it isn't necessarily for the first spot. It is competitive for the top six, and I think that
yeah.
does translate good into Europe. So you do see the English teams doing very well in Europe, and consistently, I
Mm,
think with Spain, with the country that does well. the two top countries that do well in Europe over the last, recent history. So I think with Shakhtar Donetsk, that's what their problem is, because they're not, you know, in competitive sport, you need to be kept on edge all the time if you're going to perform at your highest. And if for most of the season, it's a stroll, it's difficult to get motivated enough to to fight against teams that are in a greater quality compared to what you're used to day in, day out, week in, week
Yeah.
out. So I think teams like Antwerp in Belgium and Shakhtar Donetsk in Ukraine, I think they suffer that situation.
Mm.
Their leagues are not competitive enough for them to be able to be battle hardened to be able to go far in Europe. So yeah, I can't see those two doing much.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And just to finish up on the stream, let's go with your predicted winner of the Champions League and your predicted dark horse, predicted, and also your predicted team that you think is gonna a surprising failure, like the surprising team that's gonna fail that you think would win, but.
Okay. Those are three really good questions. I have to say this though, yeah. I have to say this, yeah. Especially because of the way they've recruited recently, yeah. I think there's a potential for City to do this back-to-back Champions League. I know it might be the easy answer, but I do think that when you look at Pep Guardiola and what motivates him, what gets him up every day, it has to be what he hasn't done before. So for him to win the Champions League back to back, I think that's the thing that motivates him the most. And I think City have it all there for them to be able to do it. You asked about a club that may surprise in the Champions League. I think Galatasaray might surprise. I think Galatasaray might surprise in the Champions League. I would say Galatasaray or Union Berlin. Potentially, I'm not saying necessarily they're going to get out the group, but their performances might be so surprising that we're like, oh wow, becomes many spectators' second team. They hope that Union Berlin or Galatasaray go as far as they can. And then in terms of a team that fails to deliver when they should do,
I think you already said it.
And it's just, yeah, Paris Saint-Germain, I'm going to have to say, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just now they're at a transition stage, and I just don't think that they've got enough to sustain a really good campaign in Europe. And they'll probably walk their league anyway. So,
I completely agree, and I think mine, obviously, I'm the same. I think Man City will win it. I feel like they're going to do it back to back. The fact that they've gone and bought Matheus Nunes, that just shows that they're not playing. They lose a player, bang, they're right back with another one. So they're not playing around. Man City are just that team that whenever they lose something, they automatically bring it back and place.
But they're the blueprint. They're the blueprint. Yeah. 20 years ago, Fergie used to do that. Fergie very rarely purchased 2 or 3 starters for his Man United squad. He'd pick one top player to improve the squad for next season, and then they go again.
He'd pick a position. I feel like he picked positions. He picked a position where he thought it was just lacking a bit, and he improved on it. And even if the position was good, he was like, "How can I improve on that position a bit more?" And
so Fergie's done that. Sorry, go ahead.
No. It was just I feel like they are the blueprint, man. They are the blueprint, 100%.
but that's where you go. So look, when you talk about our squad, we're now at a different phase now. We're back in Europe, yeah, and we have to be adaptable to that competition because I think everyone from the board down to um, the guys on the pitch, they all know that the fans will not tolerate not taking this competition seriously and making sure that we and making sure that we cement ourselves in the Champions League every single season. Now, in order for you to do that, you do have to have the personnel to be able to make sure that you are a Champions League team season in, season out. We are not necessarily the finished article when it comes to that particular objective, but we're there now. We have to make sure that we give it a good go this season because I think how we perform in the Champions League will have a say on the type of players we can attract again next summer. So I don't think there's any shame in Arteta wanting to copy the blueprint of past successful European managers. Your Pep Guardiolas, your Alex Fergusons. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you've seen someone successful, take whatever number of chapters you need to take out of their book. And then obviously you're going to have your own little style to it as well, your own thinking, your own outlook. And then you just go and you try to compete and you try to make the team the best that you can.
And you know what, Rashid? I'll just say this as well before I finish off my list of the upsets and all that. I feel like you need to create a moment where you're in the Champions League and you're consistently in the Champions League, but also remember clearly, do not get complacent. Do not sit there and just Champions League. Oh, it's Champions League. Oh, it's Champions League. You need to go in there and compete. I do not want to go through the last round of 16 out, round of 16 out, round of 16. It's just a continuous circle every year. Just you go through the group stage, get into the round of 16, you're kicked out. So it's just you have to compete, try go as far as you can. And I know Stu MC just said here, Champions League has been piss poor for years. Bar Inter, Porto wins. It's a money-rich cartel. 5 club fuck about. Bring back the days of Fiorentina, Valencia, the poor Ajax, etc. Nah, it is, man. It's crazy. It's crazy as well, man. The Champions League now, they're gonna be adding this new thing that they're gonna do. But yeah, no, it's. I'm just gonna finish off here. So obviously, my team to win it is Man City. I feel like my biggest upset or the biggest, the surprising upset for me is PSG as well. Okay. I think they're going to start going for a transitional period and they should be winning stuff, but instead they're going to struggle, man. Especially when Mbappe leaves. Maybe this season they might just get through because Mbappe is still there and he's a freak of nature. But after Mbappe is gone, there's going to be some serious trouble there. And also, the team that's the dark horse, you like to call it. For me, I'm still gonna go with Newcastle because a lot of people are seeing they're not rating Newcastle. They're not, and I just have a feeling. Isaac looks like a Champions League footballer to me. He just looks like a Champions League footballer to me. He looks like he'd kill it in the Champions League. So
how many squads? How many teams that need a player like Isaac and could have got him, and I'm looking back and thinking, why didn't we just do what was needed to get him?
We should have taken the punt on it and just gone for it, taking that risk. And a lot of teams weren't really willing to do that. Do you know what I mean? So it's just for me. It's Stu MC again. Napoli still thumping goals, dangerous again. Yeah, definitely.
Stu, I like Napoli. I like Napoli just as a club. What they've done last season, I like Napoli a lot. You know, if they do well in the Champions League. I think it's going to be great for Italian football. My own
Mm,
Italian club, AC Milan, I'm not too sure about them. I don't know how far they're going to go. But Napoli, they've done fantastic
mm.
last season. And if they continue that form into this season and in the Champions League, it's going to be another successful season for them.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, listen, we're gonna finish it there because I know you got to get going, and I've got to as well. So, firstly, thank you very much, guys, for commenting. Rashid, thank you very much for joining me again on another
Thanks for
stream.
having me, bro.
And yeah, really good conversations. I know whenever we speak, it's always good conversations. And yeah, just again, thank you very much, guys, for the people who commented. Within the stream while we're live. For the people who are watching on a replay, make sure to press the like button, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You could check out Rashid as well. I think you got your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, it's called the Arsenal Perspective. I think we've had just starting. It's been a couple of weeks now, so yeah, check it
Mm.
out as well, man. So we're just trying to start with some content, see where it goes.
Yeah, guys, check out his YouTube channel. I will have it in the description, so I will have the link to his YouTube channel in the description if you guys want to get there and subscribe. Let's get him to at least 100. Let's go straight away. Let's get him there. And thank you very much for joining me, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much. And we will see you on the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.